Hello, I'm Marilyn Chase, your state senator from the 32nd Legislative District. On Friday night, the Republican-controlled Senate passed a budget. I was a no vote on their budget, and here's why. Since the start of the Great Recession, our state has adopted budgets that have relied almost exclusively on cuts. Since 2009, we have cut more than $11 billion from programs that help poor kids, promote basic and higher education, serve the elderly and the disabled. All the while, what have we asked from those who can afford it? What has been our request of the oil company with the sweetheart tax break, or the real estate mogul who pays less of a percentage in taxes than a family of four struggling to make ends meet? You guessed it, nothing. And until we start writing budgets that restore some of the more brutal cuts and ask those with a lot more to pay a little more, I will continue to vote no. Last week, I participated in a press conference held by several Democratic female lawmakers in which we discussed with the Senate's budget plan. Our biggest concern with a budget full of things to be concerned about is the disproportionate way in which it targets women, children, and the most vulnerable. Programs like Working Connections Child Care, which help less fortunate families pay for child care while mom and dad work to make ends meet, is slashed. Aspects of the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, which helps struggling families with life's basic necessities, such as assistance with rent, school supplies, and hygiene products, is also slashed. Funding for career services and educational certification programs for the poor are cut. Health care for low-income families is cut. Transitional housing programs for seniors are cut, and at the same time, access to shelters for homeless families took a hit. These are just a handful of the programs and people who will feel the negative effects of this budget. What else are the citizens of our state losing with this budget? We are losing the means to rebuild the state's general fund when we cut strategies for rebuilding our economy. The only way to rebuild our state's general fund is to have more people working and consuming. Our state's financial health depends upon individual consumers buying items that generate either sales taxes or businesses paying B&O taxes. After looking at the tax exemptions, at least those that are available to review, my colleagues and I wondered who is still paying B&O taxes. Mid-market small businesses in our communities are bearing the brunt of the B&O taxes, while the large global corporations are receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in tax exemptions. Just as we expect deadbeat dads to pay their child support, we must expect the free riders who make up the vast majority of the hundreds of millions in tax loopholes to pay their fair share of the taxes. We need accountability in our tax preference system, and if we are to grant exempt status to certain businesses, they must prove that they are providing the state with a net benefit and have done enough to earn that tax break. When our state's general fund is healthy, we can afford to educate our children and displaced workers, to expand the apprenticeship programs and workforce training programs, and care for the vulnerable. We really must accept that education has become a lifelong endeavor to present the most highly skilled workforce in the world. That is how we attract and retain employers who pay their taxes. The single most important driving force for economic recovery is the talent of our workforce. We as a state must upgrade the skills of our unemployed workers through expanded flexibility of our workforce development system by providing and supporting training where job vacancies exist. Virtually nothing in this budget addresses improvements to our workforce development system. Republicans like to brag about the fact that they've put forth a budget that doesn't raise taxes. So what? What skill does it take to write a budget that simply slashes and burns programs for the poor and middle classes? How about bragging about a budget that helps people? How about writing a budget that lifts all Washingtonians by educating our kids, keeping our streets safe, and helping the least fortunate among us? That would be a budget to brag about. And until we get that sort of budget, I and many other Democrats who are sick and tired of balancing the books on the back of the poor middle class will continue to vote no. That's all for this week, and as always, I want to know what you think. Please contact my office with any questions, comments, or concerns. My information is at the bottom of your screen. Thanks for watching.